Thank you very much for joining me again on this show. It is the Bandstand on Equa Television. My name is Tony J. Nakale, and I'm a privileged servant of God who brings to you this show every Monday and Friday at 6 o'clock. Today, I have a very, very, very interesting topic that is really a thing of concern. Stage management / appearance. I want to talk about stage management, and appearance. I'll take a break. I'll be back. If you are wondering, maybe I'm not coming back from this break, you must be joking, because definitely I'm coming back, and I'm back already. Before you knew it, I'm just right here. And I'm trying to have fun talking to you, even though this conversation seemed to be monologue. But when you hit me on the contact below, you can find me and it will make it a dialogue then. I'm talking about stage management and appearance today, because most of the time you find out that the space that is allocated to musicians in churches is most of the time not too big, and as a result of that, you have a whole lot of issues coming in that are not professional. And you might not just know, but as I break it down to you, you will find reasons why you should have space, a little space to manage, or the space allocated to you should be managed properly. Now, let's start by asking, what do you have in church? What is the space you need for it? If you get what I'm saying. If you are new church and you're just 6 in your band, you don't need a whole space of maybe the women fellowship that 20. You don't need adequate the same space as they do, because you don't have a drum set yet. You just have a piano, which is most of the time, excuse me, what people start buying for a small church. But a church that has a full set of instruments, when I say full set, I just mean the normal drum set, piano, bass guitar, and maybe some guitar, electric guitar to play around with. So what size of space do you need? Well, let's not talk about the size of space that you need, but how do you manage the space that the church has? You don't want your church breaking walls because they have a band. You just want to help the church manage the space that has been allocated. So let's start by asking the question, how large is your space? I think there are churches that don't record. Most churches don't record their audio. They record their audio, but what they do is they record the pastor's message. And it comes out clean. You know why? Because you don't have ambience to worry about. It's just that microphone that is turned on at that point in time. And then you don't have a lot of things to worry about. There's no drum sound signal that is filtering into your one-line recording. You don't have that fear in your heart. I mean, it's just one mic. It's just pastor's message, and at most 30 minutes he's done. Right after that, most of the time they are for record purposes and all of that. And sometimes people just send it as WhatsApp and people listen to it and all of that. But if you have that same pastor's message recorded at a point where the band is playing, that's where the problem comes in. You have ambient sound of the drums filtering into his mic. You have the bass guitar sound filtering. So it picks everything around it. So the best thing is not to place your instruments directly behind your lead microphone. Instruments that produce sound on their own, that produce external sound on their own, like the drums, and every instrument that is percussive in nature. If it's a percussion, if you hit it without a microphone, it must be heard. But like a piano that is like you have to plug into a cord into it, you don't use an external microphone to record it. The sound comes inbuilt. You just put a jack into it, and then it's outputted into a mixer with the sound. So if the sound is turned off, no matter how you hit it, the sound will not filter into the mic. But if it goes into the speaker, the microphone is still going to record it. So how do you manage the stage in your church? Avoid keeping your lead vocalist here and then your drummer is directly behind him. So for recording purposes, try to put your drummer on the far left or on the far right. Because if you are doing a recording, what you would want to avoid is messing up the lead vocalist and especially the drums. Every other thing can be overdubbed in the studio and then you can correct it. But all of these things have to do with stage management. How far apart are your stage monitors from your microphones? That's why most of the time, if these things are not kept properly, you have what is called a squeal from your feedback response. If a microphone, which is magnetic in nature, goes close to a speaker that is also magnetic in nature, as a sound engineer, I'm going to tell you that you're going to hear this annoying sound feedbacking because it's magnet to magnet. The signals are trying to relate. The one passing out and the one, they're all trying to relate. At that point, you're going to hear a sound that you don't like. So speaker positioning has a lot to do with stage management. It's not just for the stage to be fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with making your stage fine, decoration and all of that. But what I am saying is you have to do it technically. You have to understand the technicalities of moving this to this place and just having it beautiful, and yet you don't have a good sound. There are things you are trying to push up, but no, you can't push that up. And people cannot hear it in church. You can't push it up. And they know the original song has this instrument, but because it's close to the speaker, you cannot push it up. So space management, and appearance is very, very important. I'll come down to appearance later. Okay, so if you know the size of the space, then it takes you to the next point. What would the stage be used for? Sometimes you have churches that will tell you, okay, the instrumentalists be on the far part, the far right of the stage, and then the pastors would be at the middle of the stage, and then the singers will be at the far left of the stage. So you have the musicians here, you have the singers here, and then you have the pastors here. And then when you have to come up and sing, you come to the front where the pastors are. Most of the time you have churches that are that big, and then you also have churches that have men's fellowship, women's fellowship, the choir, and then the band. So you struggle with the issue of space. How do you manage this space in such a way that the church will be beautiful, well decorated, but at the end the sound is also not challenged because of the space that is allocated to you? You really have to manage the space well. If you have a group of like 30 musicians, I've been to rehearsals with bands. Maybe I'm going there to teach, or I'm going there to join them for rehearsal, to play with them on Sunday and all of that. And sometimes I found out that there are groups that have up to like 30 people, their membership strength in just the band. What do you do with people like that? You can get 3 people, or at most 6. You double 2 soprano, 2 alto, and 2 tenor. You put them on one mic, and you put the mics close, and then they do a semicircle. And you have to understand, what kind of mic do you have in church? Is it a unidirectional? Is it an omnidirectional? Is it what kind of mic is it? What's the distance with which the signal will fade before it gets there? How far apart is the mic from the singer that it will give you a good signal, and all of that? Then you know how to position. If you have 4 people to a mic this way, 4 people to a mic this way, 4 people to a mic. And if you have 6 microphones, you can put 2 people that are going to sing closely, and you have to select these people, like people that can deliver well on the microphone. You don't want to have two people on a microphone. The closer they are, the louder they get. And you don't want to have people with loudness and singing nonsense. So you have to understand that. So if you have two people each on a microphone, you have three, you have six already. And if you have another mic position, a little more space, you can put 4 soprano there, 4 alto here, 4 tenor here. That's 12 plus 6, that's like 18 people, and the rest of them can be like your instrumentalists and your people. If you have wireless microphone, other people can hold each one of them, and then you position them well, but let them not stay close to the drum set, because whatever the drum is playing, from the external sound the drum is producing, these mics are going to pick them, and your mix in church is not going to be too clean. Why? Because your mix would have to be all cluttered up, because every signal is filtering in through the microphones that are close to the drums. So, excuse me, most of the time I would like to suggest that you bring people that are singing close to the piano, because it's just a speaker right in front of the piano, and then you can also hear your sound from there. It's not so energetic that it will filter to a fault into your microphone. Give me a minute and I'll be right back. Thank you very much that I'm coming back to the show and you're still right there with me. My name remains Tony Nakale. The show is The Bandstand, and the station, of course, is Equa Television, talking about how you can manage the space that you have in church so that it doesn't affect the things that you do. I talked before taking the break, I talked about how you can position people in church away from instruments that produce sounds on their own without being mic'd, like they have loud external sounds that they produce, like the percussions, the drum, family of instruments and all of that. You can put the pianos, maybe the guitars close to the singers. They are almost even in close range in terms of equalization. So you push the bass guitar and the drum close by to each other. They are always on the same frequency, even though they share some of the frequency with the voices, like the snare, the hats, and all of that. So we talked about that, I think, extensively to a point where I think you got blessed. So I'm moving to the next point now. How many instrument would you have on stage per time? There are some Sundays where you don't have to do 2 keyboards. And there are some Sundays where you may not need necessarily the conga. Sometimes for a change, you can just take them to a store somewhere. If you just need one piano on Sunday without a percussion, just do something for a change, and then people can breathe, People can have great space to manage, in the areas of what they do. And sometimes you don't all have to flaunt all your musicians during a special song. Like when you were doing a special song, you can just select 2 soprano, 2 alto, 2 tenor. They get it right, and then every other person can come up in the praise worship, the hymnals, and all of that, because everybody joins and all that. So you really have to manage space well in your church, and you have to do that technically. If you have people standing in front of the drum, I've said that over and over and over again, if you have people standing in front of your drum set with microphones, your recording is going to be all cluttered up. It's not going to be sweet. You really have to consider that. You really have to consider that. And most of the time, churches are built without acoustic in mind. So people don't think, how do we deal with the reverb nature of the hall? Is it echoing? what kind of echo is it giving us? So how do we deal with it, and all of that. So that helps as a group. You have to know how to manage the space, know where to keep your drum set, know where to keep the piano. But while you do that also, you have to know that most of the time these people have to communicate. Because in this part of the world, we cram everything that we play. We don't have sheets and score sheets and all of that. So you have to cram a song all through your play. You have to know, the next thing is the intro. We're repeating the intro again. Da, 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 da. You are going back to the intro. And then you go back to the verse. And then the next thing, you have to start playing the verse. Then you have to cram all of these things in your head. So when you're trying to manage space in church, give the space, thinking in your mind that these guys would have to talk to one another. Like the drummer would have to look at the pianist sometime to remind him, or maybe if there's anything they have to say. Somebody can just leave the key you're singing and just go sharp on you or flat on you, and then you have to and then you change it. You communicate on stage. So if you block the drummer using the people singing and he can see it, he'll be playing and be like, and you see that most of the time in churches, especially when you're playing songs that are not well rehearsed and all of that. So space management is very, very important. Stage management is very, very important. If you have a stage manager that has the sense of doing stage management, he tells you how to manage your stage while the event is going on. So you really have to start considering that in your band. You can just appoint somebody. He doesn't have to be elected. You can just say, this month you would manage our space this month, so that every Sunday people come to church, they see something a little bit different and all of that. If it doesn't temper with the setting of your sound and arrangement, people will just enjoy your musically, your church will be eventful, not just the music delivery, but from the sightseeing as well. Are you sharing the space with another act other than music? That is great. That's great. If you have elders in your church and then they have to sit on the altar, there are some churches that elders sit on the altar, and there are some churches that elders have a seat by the side where they sit. And there are some churches where they want all the musicians, the women fellowship, the choir, the band, everybody to be on the same stage with them. So you have to understand all of that too, that if people are sitting on the same stage with you and they are doing things other than music, you have to understand so that you know also where to place them, Next, what I'm going to be talking about is appearance. Whoa. This is a very, 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 very deep topic, at the same time a thing of concern. When as a lady you are singing on stage, most of the time appearance is from ladies. Men, we just wear our shirts and we're on stage. But sometimes too, you really have to consider uniformity in a group. So you have to, bring up things that God will be glorified and will be pleased with you. You don't want to be in church looking like, some sister around the corner, So you just want to be, like the popular saying would say, that dress the way you want to be addressed. I don't think that saying is fruitful anymore. People dress any way they want to be dressed, no matter how you address them. But I want you to realize that when you stand before people to do anything in church, it is very, very important that you realize that people talk. It doesn't really matter though, but people talk. When you come up with things exposing parts of your bodies, people will frown at it. And it's making what you are going to be delivering to them almost of no importance. You are in church and you're trying to do something that glorifies God, more so that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. We have sisters who have really good bodies, and they like to let you know that their body is good at the same time. My sister, we can see it. You don't have to show it any other way. You don't have to show it on any other way. It's wrong. It's a sin. It's not accepted. It's not right. In fact, when you do that, in people's mind, you're trying to sell something. That's true. You're trying to sell something. And to worsen the whole stuff, when you dress that way and then we see you on the stage trying to do something, we don't like it. See, no matter how a man wants to lust after your body, the church is a wrong place for him to think that way. So he wouldn't think about it there and then in the church. He would take the thoughts outside the church where he can practice more. So don't do that. It's not right. Don't do it. If you have a kind of cloth that exposes your body, don't wear it to church. In fact, I was talking to someone. I said, in Ekwa, wearing trousers by ladies really is not accepted. But you see, ladies wear it. They don't care, but they tell you that, I won't wear it to church. Is it that the law says don't wear it to church or don't wear it at all? That has to be distinguished. It has to be distinguished. If you wear it somewhere else other than church, is worst. Because somewhere else is a place where adultery and fornication can be practiced. Somewhere else. It can be practiced inside the church. It can start in the church and be taken out for execution. So what am I trying to say is that dress decently as unto the Lord. Your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit. Do not expose the parts of your bodies. In fact, the parts of your bodies that should be seen by only one man, and that's your husband. It's the same with the men. Just because you have triceps, biceps, your body is well built, you want to come for rehearsals, you wear what you want to wear and all of that. It's also heavy on the sisters. We need to understand that. So most of the time when we come, you manage things well, and then you try to appear in a very pleasing manner, and then you bring dress codes in your rehearsals where people can, where uniformity can come to play. Wow, I know there are certain Ekwa churches I go to, man, I'm like, what? Sometimes I'll be like, from the dressing, I can almost expect what to hear from the people. It's just that sometimes when they open their mouth to sing, they surprise you though. But that's just a part. But what I'm saying is, when I see you seated, well-dressed as a band, I know what I'm expecting from you. I already know that, wow, for you to make such an excellent choice with your dressing, you just won my heart to sit still and listen to your performance. It's very, very important for us to realize and recognize that anytime you are in the presence of God leading people in worship, you as a worship leader should not in return be the distraction that people have been looking for. Because when you want to lead worship, that's when people start thinking, why is his tie not straight? And then they start trying to use their eyes to correct the tie, like it won't work. So all through the 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 minutes that you'll be on that stage, his attention is taken away from God and placed on that tie that you have that is not straight. Take your time. Look at how you're appearing. Look at how you appear. Before you leave the house, look at your tie. Look at your belt. Sometimes your belt can shift this way. Make sure it's straight. You don't want people gazing like, why is his belt by the... No. You have to make sure, hey man, I'm going to sing to a king. I'm going to be ministering. So you have to look at yourself like 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Look good for the Lord. Look decked up for the Lord. He's the King of Kings, and you cannot appear before him anyhow. If you have been blessed by this episode and you have a lot of things to share with me, I have come to the end of the show for today. You can hook up with me on any of the social media platforms that are displayed on the screen. You can call me if it's necessary. If it's not, you can just send me an email. Let's talk together. Let me see how I got it wrong and how you've been blessed. Let me know all of that. Thank you very much for staying tuned. Don't forget, the show is The Bandstand. I'm Tony J. Nakale, and the station is Equa Television. Today we talked about stage management / appearance. I hope you have been blessed. God bless you.